But something I can't stop thinking about is that Hertz continually refers to Leo the 13th as liberal, or the liberal Leo the 13th. As we whom live on this side of Vatican II, and liberalism is shown in full measure, what gives? I had it in mind that Leo the 13th was quite a hero, given his prolific writings that seem to indicate orthodoxy and testimony from all corners of traddom. Was Miss Hertz on to something that most, including myself, do not see? Was Leo the 13th a through and through liberal? How should we remember him?
Well, that's a very, very good question. And the answer is, as with a large number of popes, for the most part, his writings were spot on.
Yeah.
But his practical tactics sometimes suffered.
Yeah, things get complicated a lot of times. Like,
Yeah.
who's the good pope? Who is it? Pius XII, who did great, but then like he
Pius
was on
XI.
the wrong side of the Cristero War.
Pius
like,
XI.
Yeah.
Yeah, and well, he wasn't on the wrong side per se. It's just that he advocated their surrendering.
Yeah. He wasn't on the wrong side.
He just told them to surrender when they shouldn't have.
Yeah, that was a mistake.
Yeah, and it was a mistake that led to a lot of lives being lost.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't just a mistake like, ooh, you know, my bad. No, it
Yeah.
was a pretty murderous mistake.
Yeah.
So, you know, when you ask, was Pius XI a good pope or a bad pope? Well, the answer is both,
Yeah.
depending on what you're looking at. So the same is true with Leo XIII. You read Immortale Dei or Humani Generis or Quadragesimorum, Rerum Novarum, all good stuff. But he was faced with two clear and urgent political problems, and he kind of muffed them. Due to his definitely liberal Secretary of State, Cardinal Rampolla. Basically, one of the big issues he had to deal with was the French government turning anti-clerical. Napoleon III was overthrown as a result of the Franco-Prussian War, and he had been sort of better than lukewarm Catholic. He had undone a lot of the damage of the revolution, though by no means all of it. And when he was overthrown, for a little while, it looked as though France would become a kingdom again, because the royalists had the upper hand. But several things happened at once. The heir to the throne refused to accept the tricolor flag. Now, people always said, oh, well, I made a big deal over just a flag. It wasn't just a flag. It was really, that wasn't the question at the bottom of it all. The question was, what sort of a monarchy would it be that he'd be inheriting? Would it be an effective monarchy, or would it be a figurehead monarchy? And he did not want to be a figurehead.
Yeah.
Otherwise, why bother? He should have been Louis Philippe, if that was all it was. And even Louis Philippe wasn't sufficiently able to do it, which is why he got overthrown. The Third Republic had elected a very good Catholic as president, who was also a monarchist, who wanted to be replaced with the monarchy, Marshal MacMahon. That looks like Marshal McMahon or McMahon, if you're
Got it.
one of you people. But
One of my people.
yeah, you people,
That's-
Anglos.
Okay.
You're an Anglo.
Okay.
You speak English. It's your first language.
How come you're not an Anglo?
It's not my first language.
Okay.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Well, your first language shapes your brain. All right, you're an Anglo
Okay, good. I'm glad.
with slight Yiddish overtones.
Why would you say that?
Well, because your dad was born in New York, as I was.
That makes Yiddish overtones? Why is that?
Well, New York English has heavy Yiddish overtones.
Yeah, you just repeated what I just asked you.
Yeah, I just said.
Yeah, okay, why is that?
Because there are a lot of Jews in New York. And they have a big influence on the culture and the food. An influence to the good, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's like saying, like, we have Asian overtones because we, in Arcadia.
We do.
That would be ridiculous to say such a thing.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Why is it the Autumn Moon Festival is one of my favorite things around here? Would I be celebrating the Autumn Moon Festival in an Italian neighborhood?
But you would never characterize yourself as having Asian overtones.
I would if my English had more Chinese in it.
Why doesn't your French have more Chinese?
Well,
This is the craziest
got me
conversation
there.
I've ever
You
had.
got me there. I don't know, actually.
Okay.
What is? I guess because I wasn't born in Vietnam in 1951. I guess I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway, we're moving right along from that extremely peculiar backwater we landed in. I don't know how we got there, folks, but I hope we can pedal our way out.
Yeah. Wow, that was deep.
Or wide, anyway.
We went from Leo the 13th to that.
Yeah,
How did we do that?
I
I'm gonna have to
don't
watch
know.
the video and retrace that.
Yeah, yeah, keep it in the act. Anyway, the point is that in response to the growing power of the anti-clericals, Leo XIII wanted to preserve the Concordat, which regulated the relationship between the church and the French government. So to do it, he came up with the idea, because the royalists refused to accept it. The royalists were the most effective part of the church in France. All right, they were the strong ones.
Of course.
But he wanted them to work with the Republic for the purpose of securing the Concordat. So he put through something called the Ralliement, which called on the French Catholics to abandon the king and rally to the Republic. Well, if you could imagine for a moment, to put it in other terms, that we got a new government here of some kind, a socialist government, say, but the larger part of active Catholics still clung to the old constitution and wanted a restoration of the old republic. And then you had a pope come along who said, well, for the sake of maintaining the position of the church, abandon your adherence to the Constitution and give it up and rally to the new government.
Yeah.
What do you think that would do to the Catholic community in the States?
That'd be pretty scandalous.
And it would split it.
And of course.
Because some would feel obligated to obey the Pope, and some would feel obligated to remain loyal to the king.
Of course.
And what the effect that this ralliement had on the French Catholic community was extremely predictable. They were split, and their effectiveness was destroyed. And it was Leo XIII who put them in that position. The second thing is that he had become aware of what was called the heresy of Americanism, which is basically, it's a number of ideas, but one of them is the idea that the church in America should be different from the church in the rest of the world, because we're freer and more democratic and wonderful and stuff.
Yeah.
And there were other views that went along with it. Active virtues are more important than contemplative virtues, that kind of thing. Teaching and hospital orders are better and more important than contemplative orders, etc.
Well, also, isn't it a sense that because you're voting on laws, it's like that leaches into your religion? Like,
yeah.
Oh, well, we can vote for marijuana, so why can't we just
vote for gay priests?
Exactly.
Yeah, and it also, it affected us in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
The idea that truth is changeable according to the will of the majority.
Exactly.
And these ideas were put together as the heresy of Americanism.
Yeah.
But Rampolla persuaded Leo XIII not to condemn anyone in particular for this heresy, but simply to say it was being taught over here and it was a bad thing. Well, that was funny because some of the leading Americanists were in positions of power over here. I don't want to mention Cardinal Gibbons of Baltimore or Archbishop Island of St. Paul, Minnesota. Oh. But they, of course, turned around and said, oh, ain't nobody here but us chickens, boss. We don't got no, ain't no Americanism America. Just us, everything good, everything orthodox.
We've gotten a lot of questions on Gibbons.
Slippery Jim Gibbons, look to your ribbons.
Okay.
That's what they said about him.
What was his diocese? New York?
Baltimore.
Baltimore.
And the interesting thing is that Baltimore, by all rights, should be the primatial see of these United States. But Gibbons was so mistrusted.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah. Okay, so Leo XIII didn't condemn anyone by name.
which had the effect of allowing Americanism to grow sotto voce.
Yeah, I don't know if it was you who said it. Someone said it, but that America in its infancy did a great job insulating Americans from foreign influence, most especially the Vatican.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting that that's part of Americanism, and part of that
Part of American
American
Catholicism.
is just ignoring the Pope.
Well, yeah, and of course, we were always that way. It's always been interesting that when Pius VI was looking for someone to appoint as first Bishop of Baltimore, he turned to Ben Franklin, who was the most famous American at the time, and Franklin recommended John Carroll. And when later Franklin was asked why he had recommended him, he said, well, all the months that we were going up to Canada and back, Father Carroll never once mentioned religion.
And it's been like that ever since.
Yep. We Catholics in America don't talk about either politics or religion, and perhaps have none of our own. But who knows? But at any rate, so there you go. That's why Leo XIII is considered by Solange Hertz to be a liberal.
Now, I think it's important, to do Leo XIII justice. I thought he was able to see the fruits of his actions, and I thought he cried. Isn't he one of the?
Yeah,
he's not the one who had the vision of Satan.
Yes, he is.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Well, he had the vision of Satan, being given a century to ruin the church if he could.
He heard the conversation, right? It was a conversation
between God and the devil.
Yeah, that's
sort of. It was kind of like the conversation between God and the devil regarding Job.
Yeah,
and supposedly he was given a century in which to try to destroy the church utterly. And if that's true, then it was sometime in the 1890s to the 1990s.
But why I mentioned this about Leo XIII, why he was sad, I think that's important because liberals nowadays, it's like they destroy the church, and it's not even results oriented. It's like, oh yeah, we got no one, but oh well, everything's great. We're all going to heaven and blah blah blah. That's not true with Leo XIII. He cried.
No, and there's no remorse in the current stuff.
Yeah, and there's no remorse. Leo XIII had remorse, so I think that's a big difference there.
And also, he was trying to accomplish something for the church.
Yeah, that too.
He was not just out to destroy because he was a moron and wanted to make everything in his own stupid self-image.
Right.
Unlike some people one could point to today. We're going to change the church now. It's going to look just like me. Yeah, well, you know what? I wouldn't mind that if you didn't look like an utter schlub. But you do, so I don't like that.
Yeah, some of that Yiddish in there. Schlub.
Yeah, ein bisschen.
Yeah.
Ein bisschen Yiddish, Bobby.